public hearing to order. I will first read the rules of order for public hearing and zoning matters. The hearing shall be presided over by the mayor. After calling the hearing to order, the mayor shall request the parcels of property which are the subject of the zoning proposal to be identified and read. Following such identification and reading, the development director's recommendation shall be presented. The mayor and city council shall cause the director's written recommendation to be made part of the public record. Proponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning the zoning decision. If all 10 minutes are not used, the proponent's remaining time may be reserved for rebuttal. Opponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning each zoning decision. The presentation times may not be reduced, but may be extended by majority vote, providing they are expanded equally for proponents and opponents. Anyone wishing to speak must come to the microphone, give your name and address to the city clerk. Also, there's a card up there that must be filled out and handed to the city clerk before you exit. Do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. First item on the public agenda this evening is 3471 PZ 2022-978 Landmark Mixed-Use Townhomes FLU map. I understand that they would like to defer this item to the June work session, so I would need a motion if it's council's wish to do that. They want to do it.
I can yell.
Sure.
Okay. Motion to issue a deferral to this project until the next city council meeting,
June work session.
June's work session.
Second. A motion and second. All in favor? Next item up is item number 3469 PZ 2022-990-2277 Lawson Way setback variance. I understand they also wish to defer to the June work session.
Motion to defer PZ 2022-990 to the June work session.
Second.
A motion and second. Any discussion on that? All in favor? That is unanimous. Next item up is 3472 PZ 2022-991, which is 3654 Keswick Drive setback variance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is a proposal this is a request to vary from the side yard setback. Staff's recommendation is approval with conditions related to the height of the structure and the location and the distance to the side lot line. The parcel is located at 3654 Keswick Drive. It's 0.3 acres. The zoning district is NR1. They are asking to encroach into the 5-foot side yard accessory structure setback. They want to encroach it by 4 feet, 4 inches. They're proposing a 12-foot tall, approximately 90 square foot wooden storage shed. This has been constructed. It is next to an 8-foot fence. The request is to have it approximately 8 inches from the side lot line. This is on the site plan showing the prior shed. There was an existing shed that was about 8 feet in height, and it was approximately 20 inches away from the side lot line. Again, there was a fence that screens it from the adjacent property. The new shed was constructed just 8 inches from the side lot line, and it is 12 feet in height. The shed did not, neither shed required a building permit. However, accessory structures are required to respect the side yard line for accessory structures. Here are illustrations of how it situates and the visual impact to the adjacent property. There are some constraints on the site that constrain the location of where a structure could be located. Considering that fact and the existing screening, staff does recommend approval with the conditions that they remove it back to the 20 inches, so it's a little further away as the original one was, and then to reduce the height so it's not peering over down to the 8 feet of the original structure. And that concludes staff's report.
Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Come on up to the microphone. Name and address to the city clerk, please.
I'm Patrick Price. I'm the homeowner.
Patrick Price, I'm the homeowner, 3654 Keswick. And after reading the recommendation, it's the layout of my property does not allow me to build anywhere else without doing some other sort of variance, whether encroaching upon the impervious buffer offset from the creek or building it in front of the house, which itself would require its own variance. The recommendations from staff, my only concern is moving it back the 12 inches further away from the property line would be very, very difficult. And unfortunately, I did build it. I didn't realize it was going to be a problem since I already had a shed in that vicinity. And so it would require a great deal of effort. I would have to tear down part of the shed and rebuild it. And so reducing the height is not a problem. It's, that's just removing material, whereas moving it 12 inches away would require a great deal of demolition and reconstruction. And that is all I have to add. Thank you.
Anybody else here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Very good. This item will come back up later in the agenda, and council may or may not have questions at that time. Next item up on the agenda is 3473 PZ 2022-993 Shambley Townhomes Mixed Use FLU Map Rezoning and DCI. Michelle.
Thank you. This application includes a request to amend the future land use map, a request to rezone from IT to VR, a request to consider their development of community impact, and a series of variances and associated waivers for this 12.3 acre development. The applicant and the owners are listed here. The applicant is Matthew Lynch from Grover Corwell, and the owners are the VJ Trust agents. The addresses are 5007 New Peachtree Road and 1100 VJ Drive. The request is for the mixed use. The zoning is for that's the current future land use is the mixed use. The zoning is currently IT, and they would wish to amend a portion of the property to a medium density residential and rezone as I mentioned earlier. The proposed project is 141 townhome units, 8 multifamily units, and approximately 4,000 square feet of commercial space. You see the existing conditions. There is a current use on site according to the existing zoning, which allows the heavier uses such as warehousing and construction and automobile. The project does have over 200 linear feet along the frontage of New Peachtree Road, so there is a frontage space and visibility along the frontage. The site's also constrained by some floodplain along the west and south side of the property, and there's an existing retaining wall supporting adjacent property. The project reviewed the components. It is primarily a residential project with a small amount of non-residential. 4,000 square feet is proposed along the road frontage, and there's a little better site. And there's also, and it's more towards the center, community space amenity that's included in the project. I think the applicant is probably going to want to walk through some of the particulars. So although this is included in the slides, for staff, two major considerations were related to the floodplain that is existing on the site. Without the study and the calculations, you can't definitively determine the viability of the project or the impact. They need to propose the mitigation based on whatever the results are of the flood study. This is interesting architectural treatment. This would be along the front street frontage, where the first level is proposed to be non-residential, and then there's 4 units above that for rental units. And then here's examples in their packet of the townhomes and the other units that are proposed. This is the existing conditions from different vantage points. And then there's a series of variances that are requested associated with the specific site plan. So staff's review really looked at the intention of the future land use map, not just for the site, but also for the surrounding area, and the interest of having mixed use, some additional mixed use where there's more and more residential, and that it's a viable mix of uses. So because of that aspect of not conforming to the vision, which still staff believes is valid today, along with then the associated request to VR, which is primarily residential. It is not primarily a mixed use, it's primarily a residential district. Staff recommends denial of that, as well as the variances, because they're all associated with a specific site plan. So that concludes staff's report.
Very good. Thank you, Michelle. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this item, please come up to the microphone. Tell us your name and how you're related to the project. Councilmember First is keeping up with our time tonight. He'll signal you when we get down to 5 minutes, and again when we get down to 1 minute.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Carl Westmoreland. My address is 3343 Peachtree Road. I'm representing the applicant in this. David Canfield and Matt Lynch from Grover Corlew are also here, as is Daniel Kerr, who is a civil engineer from Chamblee Horn, and Michael Bailey and Danny Fernandez, who are the architects from Niles Bolton, all of whom are available for questions when you get to that part of the agenda. This is almost 12 and a half acres. There's the existing conditions. It's on either side of VJ Drive, fronting New Peachtree Road. It's zoned IT. As you know, it's developed for a variety of primarily automotive uses. It's adjacent to the GDOT building on New Peachtree, and an office building which has been recently renovated along New Peachtree, as well as the townhomes which were recently built, and then single family to the rear and side behind the GDOT building. There's a 100-foot slope from front to back of the property, which necessitates most of the variances, which I will address later. Staff recommends denial on the basis that the project does not contain sufficient non-residential use and is therefore inconsistent with the mixed-use designation of the CDP. As the staff notes, we're in the New Peachtree Road character area within which the VR district, which we've requested, is consistent. Secondly, we're asking for an amendment of the Comprehensive Development Plan to medium-density residential. And interestingly, on the first application, which you deferred and didn't hear, but as you know is a stone's throw away from this, they are requesting the converse of what we have, that is to go from mixed use to, medium-density residential to mixed use. And staff found that that was inappropriate because they enjoy single-family property. Well, as you can see, so do we. In fact, we started this process essentially trying to replicate the VR townhomes that don't have any residential, to which we are adjacent on New Peachtree Road. In discussions with some of you and with the staff, we understood that there was a desire to have a non-residential component, so the site plan was amended to add 2 buildings, mixed-use buildings up on the front of the site. As you heard in the staff report, each would contain 2,000 square feet of retail use, and with 4 two-bedroom units above, which the applicant has agreed to lease or sell at a price that's affordable to someone at 120% of AMI, and restrict those to that for a 10-year term to address the workforce housing issue that we also heard about. The balance of the site, as you see on the plan, are 141 3-story, 3-bedroom townhomes, each with a 2-car garage and room for additional 2 cars to be parked in the driveway. Each will be platted separately and will meet the National Green Building standards. We accommodate the New Peachtree Road Trail across the front of the property, and we have, it may be easier to see there with the yellow arrows, we have engaged with GDOT, who, as you know, is the adjacent owner, fronting New Peachtree to discuss a pedestrian easement that would come to the site and then go through the site on a sidewalk and out ultimately to New Peachtree Road. We are, you won't be surprised to hear, not getting immediate response from GDOT, but we have been talking to Paul Menard over there, and we'll continue that conversation. As mentioned, there are several variances. I won't go through those in the interest of time. I think it's fair to say that staff in their report doesn't really have a problem with any of them other than the height that we've requested on the retaining walls. Staff had also asked, as you heard, for a more detailed flood study to address the floodplain, which is on the western side of the site. There you see it outlined in blue. We had provided
and shown compensatory storage areas on the site plan. The ability to do a complete study would depend on having a utility plan, grading.
And we're not going to have that. It seems to me that the city has got the control on that, because you're not going to issue an LDP until you're satisfied that they comply with that ordinance. And interestingly, again, the city engineer found in the staff report that you got that, quote, the floodplain filling may not be necessarily be of concern as the property lies upstream of the floodplain, and the floodplain itself has been environmentally despoiled. So I don't think that holding it up to get a study that would take several months and typically not be done until you're ready for permitting is really justified. So back to the retaining walls. We filed the application with variances to exceed the flood areas in the site. This is exhibit, sorry. 5. All right, great, thank you. This shows that we had, it may be a little bit hard to see, but you can see what we had initially asked for in terms of heights on the retaining walls, some as high as 46 feet on the interior behind the detention pond. We revised the plan to reduce the height of all walls to be 12 feet or lower, except for one interior wall, which is the yellow box that you see in the interior of the site. Adjacent to single family, which is obviously where they're of most concern, the heights are now 4 feet, 6 feet, 1 foot, 2.9, 5 feet. There are 2 at 12 feet. And we have, the applicant has also offered to provide additional screening in the yards of the single family homes that back up to that to also address any view of the retaining wall. So let me introduce Dave Canfield, who is with Grover Corlew, to address you briefly, then we'll reserve any other time if we have it for rebuttal.
Well, I'm Dave Canfield with Grover Corlew, the applicant. We came to Chamblee and looked at the site and thought it'd be a wonderful site for upscale townhome community, somewhat replicating what's next door, and also thought it would be a great, continuation of the use of the townhomes and transition to the neighborhoods on the east and south of us. And in speaking with people at the city and staff early on in the process, we learned that they would like to see a commercial component, and we seriously studied that, and in an effort to provide what we think would be viable, because we have a very narrow or short and limited street frontage, come up with a way to incorporate the commercial space. And we did it in 2 buildings with a outdoor pedestrian plaza between them, where we would have outdoor string lights and keep a festive atmosphere, with the goal of attracting small retail restaurant users, which is how we came up with the parking requirement. It's a little more than just office or whatever. We looked at restaurant usage and based our parking counts on that, so we can maybe get a deli in there or a coffee shop and have outdoor activity that would connect and help activate and create a nice atmosphere along the New Peachtree Road Trail. In conjunction with that, we came in with, based on feedback we were solicited, connected it to the neighborhood with our sidewalk. Granted, there's still a little more work to be done with GDOT, but that way we can incorporate the neighborhood to the south and east of us, come through our site and have access to the neighborhood retail that we're trying to create. So again, upscale community, 1,900 to 2,200 square foot townhomes, 3 bedrooms, 3-bedroom plus a den. And we feel like it would fit really well within the surrounding land uses and still have the attraction and commercial viability on the limited street frontage we have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this project? All right, seeing none, we'll move into opposition. Anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to this project, please come up to the microphone. Tell us your name and your address, please.
Good evening. William Stribe, 1730 8th Street. The applicant left out one important detail, which is found on page 414 of the DCI letter of intent here. The applicant, quote, would like to reserve the right to either rent or sell these units, which I think is pretty germane matter. The property to the left, or I guess to the south here, the Taylor Morrison townhomes are fee simple for purchase townhomes, roughly $750,000 per unit right now. If you let them reserve the right to rent these townhomes, it will be a glorified apartment community with better finishes. 141 units is 423 beds. My second point is in regards to the DeKalb County School District. On page 44, Ashford Park Elementary School is already 217 students over capacity. This development contemplates 9 additional children going to that school. So that exacerbates the problem, and I would argue that rental townhomes would even further exacerbate the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up, sir. Whomever.
This is the thing off of New P Street where USG is?
No.
Is it on the same street close to that?
Same street.
Same thing.
2 projects.
I'm Ronnie Mayer. I'm the big community leader in Ashford Park. I own property in Ashford Park and in Shambley, so I figure I'm here. I don't know if y'all try to do any studies, but we're talking about the health and welfare of our children in Ashford Park. The new townhomes now, the traffic comes into Chamblee. It all goes down to the Caldwell Road, and I live on Reading. And we need a traffic cop out there in the morning, and you ought to see the little kids that are trying to cross the road by themselves. It's really scary. In yesteryear, we had a crossover there. And I suggest that y'all change your mind, put a hold on this whole thing. I know it's great y'all make all this good tax money, but let's throw the brakes on this whole thing, and let's get the ARC involved, and let's get the city of Brookhaven involved, and let's work together as a team, and let's get another underpass or an overpass there, so you can get the traffic out of the backside of Chamblee there and Ashford Park, and it will save a life, because if you don't, you're going to have the blood of some child on y'all, because you've let all these new townhomes, and you don't need any apartments anywhere there. If you're going to put townhomes and houses, yes, sounds great, but still you need to get the ARC involved and bring in some of the federal money, the state money, and let's do an underpass or an overpass there like it used to be. And you will get, because all the people out of the townhomes, they come south. The tractor trailers even come south. In the sharp turn, run over everything, come down to Caldwell, make a right, almost run over JJ's yard, and he's one of y'all's officers, and then they run to our intersection at Reading Road. And then the other morning, I counted 75 cars between the other side of the road, the side of the road coming from Chamblee, and Reading Road, because they use our street as a cut-through too, off Dresden. So even though you do your traffic studies in Chamblee, come over to our side and do a traffic study and see how many cars are exiting at Reading Road. And you gotta stop this thing right now. Don't permit nothing, don't do nothing. Get the ARC involved, get you some state money and the federal money, and they love to spend that federal money right now. And let's do an either underpass and overpass there, and then you can do everything you want to do there. But just do some townhomes or houses. You know, the last big unit you did, you know, y'all have underneath for shops and stuff. That doesn't work. You might do one shop and the rest of the place stays empty for 4 years, like it did up at Walmart. Thank you. Who gets?
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you.
Sir? How much time we got left?
My name is Chris Fort. I live at 1834 Hickory Road, so I butt right up to the back of this. Just my opposition is buffer. I mean, again, the retention pond, and I think they call it, is it TH23 in one of them, where the last row of the whole townhomes, that's right up against my property line, my neighbor's property line, and with the retaining walls, even if they're going to lower it, that's still 30 plus feet of townhome, plus the elevation change, plus there's still retaining wall that are looking right down on the back of our houses from a privacy standpoint, not to mention blocking our sun, you know, yard work, all that kind of stuff that impacts all of us. The retention pond as well is, again, right there in our backyards. It's open retention pond, mosquitoes, critters, all kinds of things like that I think needs to be addressed in a much more defined way to help make us feel a lot more comfortable about that. And playing into that is the buffer. I mean, we've got big tall trees back there, blocks out sound, again, gives us privacy in our backyards, which is part of the reason that we moved in. And then I'll also echo what they've both said, overcrowding in the schools and the traffic on Caldwell, which is just going to be even worse. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here wishing to speak in opposition? Very good.
Daniel Dom, 1871 Dyer Circle. So kind of to preface, I'm not opposed to residential development. I think it's a great idea. However, there's a lot of discussion about tearing down the vegetation that's there, the 24 to 32 inch size trees. Adding that detention pond, there's no documentation or anything that I can see about the maintenance and detention of that. How is it being pumped out? How is the storm dumping from the storm tech system to the center of the site, to the back side of the site? Like the gentleman said before, it's great that they've lowered this wall, but they're not taking into consideration the 30-foot houses that are on top of that. So about 4:30 in the afternoon right now, I was just standing outside, that sunlight would be cascading onto the back of our yard, so we wouldn't have anything. It'd be just overcast. We have noticed that there are a lot of owls and hawks that are in those trees, as well as turtles and raccoons. So not a good reason to just open up that detention pond and tear down the vegetation in that area. It's great that they want to add these American hollies, 3-inch calipers, a couple 24 to 30 inch trees, but that's not what's existing back there, which is 24 to 32. A lot of that vegetation back there has been there for several hundred years, and I'm sure some of the residents here that have been longer. So.
Very good. How are we doing, Jim? Anyone else here wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up. And about 2.5 minutes left.
Hi, Corinne Shira. I'm at 1803 8th Street. One flaw in their plan is there's really not enough parking up there. To have multifamily, you have 8 two-bedroom units. That's 16 parking spots that are already taken up. Where's the rest of the retail and restaurant parking going to be? Are they going to park on New Peachtree and create it a dangerous environment that people are already fly down the street? It just doesn't make any sense. I echo everyone else as well with what they've said.
Very good. Thank you. Come on up, sir.
My name is Todd Bannister. I live just south of this property in Brookhaven, but own residential property on both sides in Chamblee and Brookhaven. And I agree with all my neighbors' points. I think particularly the first point, that the approval should be contingent upon for sale units getting built here with a maximum down the road with an in-place HOA that keeps conventional financing in place of 25% being able to be rented like almost every townhome and condo community throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you. If you have spoken, you haven't filled out a card, if you'll take just a moment to fill that out real quick, get that to the city clerk, we'd appreciate it. Anyone else here wishing to speak in opposition? Yeah. About a minute.
Hello, my name is Kelly Livingston. I live at 3196 Clairwood Terrace, and I also own the neighboring property, 3192 Clairwood Terrace, and I've lived in Shambley for 13 and a half years. I know many of you. I've spoken with many of you over the years. As you know, a few years ago, Dekalb actually tried to redistrict our little portion of Ashford Park out of Ashford Park Elementary Attendance Zone, and I can assure you that adding apartments, high-density apartment housing in our little corner will give them much more ammo to fight this again. And not just my little street of Clairwood Terrace and Hammond Dyer, which Karen Lupton lives on, but all of Shambley, Ashford Park. So that's one of my main reasons why I'm against high-density apartments. Like everyone else, I'm pro-development, smart development, and development that brings quality to the rest of Chamblee community, which includes pedestrian-friendly improvements. Anyone that goes down New Peachtree right there, that would be me and my 3 children over here, who all 3 go to Ashford Park. We bike to school and we walk to school along New Peachtree down to Caldwell. And the other day I almost got run over, just me biking to go get my children, following the bike laws, because people speed down that road and because of the traffic down that road. It's only going to get worse. So in addition to vetoing apartment housing, I implore you to please require these developments to have improved pedestrian. Okay, thank you.
Does council wish to extend time?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
5 more minutes?
At least, yeah.
Okay, thank you, sorry. And I would implore the city to invest in this area of Chamblee as well. As you know, we have the brand new Whole Foods Development Center. I will tell you it's a huge safety issue because people are crossing the railroad tracks along that little stretch of New Peachtree, along the existing townhomes, and someone's going to get hit by a train. So me personally, I think it would be wonderful for the city of Chamblee to look into a pedestrian bridge, because people find the easiest way to get somewhere, and they're going to continue doing this. And as you put in more residential housing along this stretch of New Peachtree, it's only going to get worse. And sidewalks. We don't have sidewalks, and we don't have bike lanes, so that will be wonderful. I really love all the improvements that Chamblee has made in the past 13 years. I love to run. I love running downtown Chamblee now along the rail trail. I would love for it to connect up to Brookhaven to Ashford Park Elementary. That would be a huge improvement, or to the green space in Ashford Park. So I really implore y'all to look at this as a whole picture for our community and for our surrounding cities, such as Dorville and Brookhaven, so that we can make Chamblee to continue to be a great place to live, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. Anyone else here wishing to speak in opposition?
Excuse me, I just have one follow-up point from hers and a few others. That intersection at the bend there at 8th Street, New Peachtree Road, I live right there. Last week, someone drove through at a high rate of speed, through the turn, into the fence, into the cemetery. It is a problem today, and it needs to be fixed. I don't know if that's changing the road the way it is, but we see it all the time. People are walking from the Taylor Morrison townhomes down into the neighborhood. They go around the corner. They almost get hit by people coming out of Ashford Park. It is just, it's a recipe for disaster, the same way that the railroad crossing is. So I implore you, please spend time If you can get out of these developers or the state and federal government, please do, because it is a sincere problem for our neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up. Okay.
And I have snapshots of the yellow truck that went through the pit.
Good evening. My name is Ronald Menard. I live at 3222 Caldwell Road, which is right around the bend at the stop sign. In the mornings, I see all this traffic coming down. They do a rolling stop. Now, if some child's trying to cross the street, he's going to get hit. We get a lot of traffic back through here since they put these townhomes up on Gwynn, just past VJ. They come through the neighborhood. I would suggest, if y'all going to build here, let's open up 8th Street where Brown and Brown used to be, either put an underpass or an overpass there. It was open until Marta came through. When Marta came through, they closed 8th Street completely. That put everything through the neighborhood. Back when I first moved there, I didn't have the traffic because 8th was open. They went through 8th Street to New Peachtree or Peachtree Industrial. We didn't have that much traffic. Now, you can't even get out of the neighborhood at 8 o'clock in the morning. I can't get out of my driveway at 8 o'clock in the morning to go anywhere. It's pathetic. And if y'all decide to put townhomes up here where Gibson is, it's going to be worse. You don't have the frontage to put townhomes up. You got that big horseshoe bend there, and people, like this gentleman said, they come around that curve 40, 50 miles an hour, and they go through the cemetery. I've seen it twice. I would also suggest, if y'all going to build townhomes, put speed bumps on Caldwell, and y'all pay for them, not the residents. We need speed bumps, because these people fly up and down. I don't care what time of day or night. You hear them coming through, and we got small kids back there. We got new families moving in with small children. Somebody's going to get hurt. And then my other gripe is, since these townhomes on Gwynn and all that, we got these golf carts that come through the neighborhood now. I thought they were illegal. No license plates, some of them don't even have lights. I like to hit one afternoon. Right after darkness, he was coming from the park. I was coming home from Zaxby's. I didn't even see him till I was right up on top of him. Somebody's going to get hurt, folks. That's all I have to say. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? All right. I think you might have snuck in a little late on us, so please fill out one of the cards and give it to the city clerk, if you would.
I live on Clairwood Terrace, so it's the first street in Ashford Park when you come down New Peachtree. And to echo everyone's point, I reached out to the speed calming, to get speed bumps even on our street. Like people just come around the corner going 45 miles an hour, and we have a 2-year-old daughter. Something simple, even on New Peachtree for now, could just be put a cop there. Because it's almost like people will drag race or see how fast their cars can go. And a lot of us like to walk our dog, because the preserve.
We're at time.
Okay. Council wish to extend for another couple of minutes? 2 more minutes?
Yeah, so just a police officer, would probably, people I think are now using Caldwell as a cut through for Peachtree Boulevard and coming down New Peachtree, just more police presence even on Caldwell, just a cop there would probably get people to slow down. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, let me share.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, we did extend time for 7 minutes for the opposition, so if the developer or his representatives would like to take time for rebuttal, you've got at least 7 minutes.
I don't think I need that much. A lot of the things that were raised are issues that exist now. Obviously, before this is here, traffic is going to get worse, whether this is built or not. You're going to have a lot more traffic like everywhere else is in Atlanta. Some of the other issues were things that can obviously be addressed by, for example, how is the detention pond going to be maintained? Well, it's going to be maintained by the homeowners association. Same as with the landscaping. We have tried to address, as I said, one of the primary aesthetic issues from the single-family areas by reducing the wall, by suggesting that we could do additional landscaping, and we do have a 30-foot buffer around, so the trees in that area are not being taken out. I think one of the major issues or threshold issues here is you got an industrial property. As you saw from the pictures, and you're familiar with it, it's not contributing anything to the area, or the neighborhood, or the city as it is now. What's the future of this? Is it better to be a townhome development? Probably yes. And from a traffic standpoint, I would think that certainly any redevelopment of industrial would exacerbate the things that people are talking about tonight. So with that, I think the issue is what's the right land use. There are issues that need to be addressed through conditions, whether it's traffic or otherwise, but that can be done. I think in terms of land use, leaving this industrial doesn't help the neighborhood, doesn't help the city, and what we've asked for is appropriate. Let me let Mr. Canfield then address the rent sale issue.
Hello. Regarding the issue of for sale versus for rent, we've asked that the option be left open for us to consider at the time of development. We're kind of in an uncertain economic situation in the country right now. We have labor shortages, supply chain constraints, mortgage interest rates are rising pretty quickly. Just from December to now, it went from 3% to about 5.4%. On a typical mortgage on a property like this, that would be an increase of $700 a month. They anticipate another 150 basis points increase by the end of the year, which would put it close to 7%. Mortgage interest rates would be $1,200 a month over what was just this past December. So you run into some affordability issues, and we're also, there's the news media is talking about possible recessions and things like that. So we would like to be, no matter what we develop, whether it's for sale or for rent, be able to proceed in an uncertain economic environment. If it was for sale, if it was for rent, we would have a professional management company on site at least 5 days a week with leasing and maintenance staff to take care of all the grounds and any of the maintenance issues that the neighbors have brought up. Same thing, if it was for sale, it'd be a HOA with a professional management company to take care of any of the issues we talked about with the buffers or the retention pond. For rent scenario, we're probably talking around $3,500 a month. So it's not a low income issue. We can have high income residents, which I think would contribute greatly to the economic success of Shambley. They're going to spend money at restaurants and shopping. They have usually dual income families, so I don't think the family profile really changes that much at this level of a development that we're talking about, whether it's a for rent or for sale. They have very similar income profiles. Thank you.
Very good. All right, was there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this item? All right, very good. We'll close this out. Again, I'll remind you, this will come back up later in the agenda for council comments and questions. Anyone care to make a motion to exit the public hearing?
Motion to exit the public hearing.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Very good. All right, we'll move right on into the announcements and presentations. John, 2022 business survey presentation. Very good.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Maggie and I work for the City of Chamblee as a Business Development Coordinator. Tonight I'll present to you the 2022 Business Survey Report. For those of you who recently joined the project, let me make a note that this is not the first time when we're presenting such a report to the business community. Actually, the first time was in 2018 when our team sent a survey to the business leaders with the idea to open a dialogue between the businesses and the city, gather business owners' feedback, and also help economic development team understand what is the business climate in the city. 4 years later, this year in 2022, we sent a second business survey with the goal to compare the results from 2018 and 2022, but also to see what are the current challenges that our businesses are facing. The survey that we sent this year was anonymous, prepared in an online version available in English and Spanish. Marketing materials were also presented, and a survey flyer with a QR code was distributed to a variety of areas in the city. For the first time, the survey was presented in the business newsletter, and then email with the flyer was sent to the business leaders with link that they can follow and access the business survey from any digital device. The survey was presented at the beginning of February and ended at end of March. Participation overview. Over 2,000 businesses were invited to participate in the survey. 245 of them responded, which is giving us participation rate of 11%. This rate is lower than the 2018 because 4 years ago, 70% of the businesses, which is over 1,500 businesses, participated in the survey. One of the reasons might be because the survey was distributed alongside with the occupational tax renewal documents. Because back in the days, 4 years ago, the renewal documents were presented in paper and the survey was attached to these documents. Probably this is why business owners were under the impression that this is a required document that they need to complete in order to obtain the new license. And probably this is how 70% of businesses provided the feedback. Nowadays, we use a company that is called HDL, and she's overseeing our renewal documents. But the reason why we didn't ask HDL for help and we didn't distribute the survey through HDL is because if we do it and business owners provide their feedback through the HDL, then the survey won't be anonymous. We were very happy with the participants because we received responses from a variety of areas in the city. Most responses were provided from Beaufort Highway area and also businesses located at the International Village and PDK Airport. When we separate the businesses by type, 30% of the businesses were representing the retail industry, followed by 16% representing the healthcare and 14% the construction and manufacturing businesses. Lease responses were gathered from businesses located at Ashford Park and those who provide utility and transportation services. Property ownership and leasing. There are many factors that influence business owners' decision whether to rent or to buy their facility. Some of them, for example, are business needs, targeted market, or just preferred location. When we ask our businesses, do you currently rent or lease your facility? Over 70% listed that they're currently renting their space. When we ask about the rent fee, average, lowest and high, they listed 29 cents per month per square foot as lowest rate and $25 per month per square foot as highest rate. I was a little bit skeptic with these numbers and I decided to run a report to see what are the rent rates for the metropolitan area, and the report confirmed the numbers that our business owners listed. In fact, businesses that are located in the Atlanta metropolitan area are willing to pay between $19 to $22 highest rent, while businesses in Chamblee that are located in the central area of the city are willing to pay $25 per square feet per month. There might be some other fees that are associated with the rent rates, for example, amenities, and if the amenities fees goes up, then also the rent will increase. So we ask our business owners, what are the 5 amenities that are included in the monthly rate? And over 70% listed water, followed by common area, sewer, trash, and electricity. Chamblee business climate. We were very happy to see that almost 90% of the businesses are not currently planning to relocate or close their business. Actually, the number is very similar to the 2018, because back in the days was around 87%. Now, we may see some businesses that are closing their location but not their business. These will be representatives, for example, of the finance and accounting industry, just because their employees are currently working remotely. Or another reason that business owners listed reason for closing is because the business owner is getting retired and is about to sell the business. About reasons for business relocation, this might be because the lease is about to expire. Also expansion and growth, the business is about to hire more employees and need a bigger space. And also because they're trying to reduce their costs. We are very happy also that the current unemployment rate for the city of Chamblee is 4.8, while for the United States is 6%. Talking about the employees, 55% of the business leaders are not planning to increase or decrease their employee count. Those that are about to increase the employee count are around 38%, and they plan to hire between 1 to 3 employees. Forms of marketing. It is important for the city of Chamblee to know how our businesses are currently promoting their products and services. We ask our businesses to list the different ways, and we're very happy that they actually use a combination, and social media is their preferred way, followed by the direct mail, 16%, also through magazines and newspaper. Additional ways that our businesses are promoting their businesses through the yellow pages, also trade shows, and the services of a professional marketing or consulting company. In our city, we also have businesses that sell their products and services online through an online platform. These are 11% of the businesses who participated in the survey, and they listed that 20% of their sales occur online. Potential training opportunities. We would like to know what our businesses would like to see in our developing programs. This is one of the ways how we support them. And they listed that they're most interested in networking opportunities and also business developing programs that include marketing activities, followed by, for example, more information about employees, how to recruit and retain employees, or how to support their business through additional finance, for example, loans. Some participants also listed concerns in the open section where we're asking them, is there anything else that you would like to share with us or anything else that you would like to discuss? Concerns were related that the city is growing too fast, and they would like the city of Chamblee to keep ensuring the safety and security in town. Business owners also desire to see changes and improvements in the current permitting process, and they also would like to obtain their permit license quicker. Businesses also would like to see improvements in the public transportation. Please let me make a note. I forgot to mention these 3 flyers that are listed on the bottom. They're related with the business interest about developing programs. Our businesses mentioned that they're interested most in the networking and marketing activities. Currently, the city of Chamblee is having 3 of these programs that are offering these activities. This is the special Super Local Sweep, which is where we're highlighting businesses and their holiday sales, also the holiday decorating contest, and the business roundtable discussion where business owners are meeting, exchanging information on certain topics that they're most interested, and also sharing challenges that they're facing. Conclusion and recommendation. As a recommendation, first recommendation that our team is making is the business survey to be presented alongside again with the business renewal package. But instead of the HDL company gathering people's information, we would like again to have a flyer with link and QR code so the business responses can go separately than our HDL system. We also would like to increase the number of business and retention visits. This is a great way for us to keep ensuring the open dialogue between the city and our businesses. Also would like to expand our existing business developing programs. For example, the ones that you heard, the Shop Chamblee or the decorating contest or the roundtable discussions. And we also would like to continue to offer new training opportunities, workshops, and events. That was my presentation. I really enjoy working on this project, learning more about our businesses and the current business climate. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thank you.
Yeah, good job. Good job. Any comments from council?
I have a question. I'm very curious about the statement that some of the complaints, I guess, maybe, or some of the negative
concerns
complaints were about the city's growing too fast. I'm very surprised about that. Because is it because of safety concerns? You would think that more people is going to bring more business to all of our businesses. So.
Particularly about this statement, there was only one sentence that was mentioned. That was one of the most powerful that I read. But please not make a final judgment or conclusion just because certain people are providing like a low number of providing this. I think a further research can be made, particularly on this topic, or a further survey. We can announce, so we can hear what are the concerns of our businesses, seeing our projects or how the city is growing.
Mm-hmm. That would be, I'd be interested in seeing that.
Yeah, that's required for follow-up.
Any other questions or comments?
Great information.
Very good.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you so much. I'm glad to see that we are putting extra effort into reaching out to our businesses and considering their concerns. Next up on the agenda, we have the APWA Public Works Week Proclamation. I have that, don't I? Yeah, I got it right in front of me. So this is a proclamation celebrating National Public Works Week. And I'll just read that off. It says, whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Chamblee. And whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are federally mandated first responders and the engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for citizens, civic leaders, and children in Chamblee to gain knowledge and maintain ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works, first responders, and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2022 marks the 62nd annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association and the Canadian Public Works Association, be it now, therefore, be it resolved on this 12th day of May 2022, I, Mayor Brian Mock, do hereby designate the week of May 15th through the 21st, 2022 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designated to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. So I believe we're going to present this to Courtney, and you're going to go back and make sure that they get it. I heard John was doing lunch next week or something. I heard that through the grapevine. I don't know. So I think Courtney didn't want photos. I'm not sure. But
whereas Courtney does not want a photo.
I would be happy for us to do it, but if you do not want to, then I understand. It's up to you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all you do. Having our sanitation folks out on time and that leaf sucker coming down the street gives us a lot of joy. Next up on the agenda is the city clerk items. Approval of minutes. City Council public hearing work session April 14th, 6 p.m. Any questions from council? Good. City Council regular meeting, April 19th, 7:30. Any questions? No. City Council called meeting, April the 29th, 2022, 8:30 a.m. Questions? And City Council called meeting, April 30th, 2022, 8:30 a.m. No questions? Very good. Thank you, Sharon. Good job. That was a lot of meetings. City Manager, the Shambley Doraville CID expansion. Who's got that?
We have, I apologize, I was looking at the slides. We have been asked by the Shambley Doraville CID to adopt a resolution, I believe it's a resolution, to expand the boundaries. They have recently completed an expansion campaign, and they've have 4 Shambley businesses that have elected to be included. In addition, there are 2 Shambley businesses that are being brought in under other expansion mechanisms. It's very hard to see, but the red dots do show where those businesses are located. Do you have anything else to say on that? Okay. And that's it? That's it.
Any questions from council on this item? Very good. Item number 2, resolution to provide scheduling of meetings for regular council meetings.
Thank you, Mayor. We have in the packet tonight a resolution that would establish the dates and times of the regular meetings and the work sessions. Later tonight, there's a second read, or at the meeting on Tuesday, there will be a second read that would move that section out of the city code of ordinances. And so this resolution would be replacing that section that comes out of the ordinances. We do in this resolution move the meetings from Tuesday nights, currently meeting at 7:30. Those would move to 6 p.m., which is the same time that the work sessions meet.
Very good. Questions, concerns from council?
You know what, my one concern is that we have had URA meetings before our scheduled 7:30 meetings, and that would be impossible to do. So we would have to do them afterwards, or?
We could either hold them afterwards or hold them at 6 o'clock and then convene the council meeting immediately following.
Right.
And I'm receiving looks from the city clerk and deputy city manager, so there must be something to add to something I messed up along the way.
I believe we want to make a motion to adopt the resolution for the CID. We need to.
Oh, I apologize. Yes.
Oh, we need to take action on that tonight? Nobody told me that.
All right. I apologize. I apologize for my oversight.
Okay, so let's back up for one second. So we need to have a motion.
Motion to adopt the Chamblee Doraville CID expansion as presented by the city manager.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the Chamblee Doraville CID expansion resolution. Any discussion? All in favor? Very good. Thank you. Sorry about that. So were we, was that it on the?
That was it on the scheduling of meetings.
Okay. So,
Do we need to adopt that tonight?
We do not.
is there anything else on this list that we need to do tonight?
I may not be the right person to ask.
Chalk art? Very good. All right. All right. Any other questions from council on the scheduling? No? Very good. Number 3, the Shambley election district.
Thank you, Mayor. This just needs to move to first read. I did not have the ordinance prior to today. I did receive that today, so we'll be putting that on the agenda packet, for Tuesday's meeting. But we do have an ordinance based on what was passed at the last meeting, the Gold B map. And we just ask that you move it to first read.
Any objection to this being moved to first read?
No objection.
Very good. Item number 4, the project management software.
So we are requesting the mayor to authorize, the council to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Primavera for capital improvement software. As we have expanded our CIP program, the process of managing all that documentation, the contracts, the submittals, the drawings, all of that has become pretty extensive. And we're trying to better organize and facilitate a process for managing their business to make sure, especially as we get on federal funding, that it's all located in one place. And Shannon, our CIP coordinator, has done a fantastic job, but she's pretty limited right now in terms of what she can do with the information that she has. So we reviewed, I think, 3 different products. Primavera came in as the most competitive proposal that we received, and also the most affordable. And so the first year will be $21,600 and $18,000 annually after that.
Very good. That it? All right. Questions from council? All right, very good. Seeing none, we'll move on to the resolution to modify the 2022 fee schedule.
I'll take that one as well.
Very good.
This is just to modify our annual fee schedule to reflect the changes that you made to the stormwater fee last month from $48 to $120. We have to pass a resolution based on that Dekalb County and get it on the tax item. Additionally, as we've been reviewing our fee schedule, we did notice that licenses for insurance companies, which is regulated by the state of Georgia, was not included in our fee schedule. We actually have it codified in our code of ordinances, and it has the wrong amount listed in the code. It's actually dictated by state law. So it's based on population, and we want to make sure that it's included based off of state law in our fee schedule, as well as we will go back and modify the code ordinance.
Very good. Questions from council? Good job. The grant writing contract? Who's got that?
Mercy.
Mercy.
Good evening. As you know, Council has had several recent conversations about the value and opportunity of utilizing professional grant writing services. Most of those conversations have focused on fine arts opportunities and diversifying what we have in our community. It's also been brought up in the context of investment in recreation. So staff did some research after the action that Council took at our April meeting and researched a few options to consider. We identified our needs in considering grant writing services, in establishing priorities for grant funding that we are interested in pursuing, identifying eligible funding opportunities that are a match for those priorities, and then finding the appropriate skilled support to pursue that funding request. So we considered Align Consultancy as well as Azimuth Grant Writing Services. Both take a different approach and offer different benefits and experience. Azimuth is a single-person firm and were founded more recently. They have done a little more art-specific grant writing, but are a team of one and have not yet worked with municipal organizations. Their proposal was to establish an initial funder search report and research 2 to 3 brief project concepts for us, as well as do some early funding research and create an annual grant writing calendar, and then propose entering into a monthly contract, which would give us a once monthly search for additional funding opportunities throughout the year for the term that we were interested in contracting, and completion of 1 proposal per month as those are identified and pursued. The alternative option that staff looked into was working with Azimuth Grants. They proposed development of a 1-year grant strategy to establish our grant readiness and analyze that, and also help us identify areas that we would need to invest additional time and effort into in being more prepared for grant application. They'll also do an analysis of granting opportunities that are there, including identifying specific amounts and project matches for those initially identified goals, and then create a quarterly implementation timeline for us and do some opportunity research. They also break out their services in specific allocation of hours based on different rates, so we have some flexibility in the amount of time that we want to start working with them in, and adjusting that over time. So there's some cost comparison. Align consultant fees is broken down, as you can see, from initial onboarding and that funder search report, and then their monthly services. That's estimated out through the completion of this calendar year. Azimuth Grants, it proposes the development of their one-year grant strategy, which includes those elements that were mentioned earlier, and then the additional contract for allocation of dedicated grant writing services. Those grant writing services can run concurrently to the development of the grant writing one-year strategy, and I think that offers us an opportunity to have some focused dialogue about the funding priorities we're pursuing. So staff recommendation is to execute a contract with Azimuth Grants to cover the development of the one-year grant strategy and start with 50 dedicated hours of grant writing services for the pursuit of those opportunities.
Very good. Any questions for Mercy?
I would just add that this is primarily for arts and recreation. We do work with our engineering consultants on grants for public transportation and infrastructure.
I read through the proposal. They have some very good recommendations. They've done some good work.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that $18,000 for this will pay for itself. The case study that they presented, $11 million in grants came in, so it's well worth the money.
And they have significant experience working both at national, regional, state, and local level, and have a bit broader and deeper team of skill sets that they can draw from to support us.
Yeah, I think that's very necessary.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Mercy. Next item up on the agenda is the Shambley Chalk Walk.
I have that one as well.
Shambley Chalk Walk.
So the Chamblee Public Arts Commission has had an ongoing conversation about opportunities to incorporate arts experiences into our already fantastic community events, and they've identified implementation of a Chamblee Chalk Walk as a priority that they are recommending. So we have met over the last couple of months with some folks that work with the Georgia Chalk Artists, I think Alliance, and they also provide professional services to plan, implement, and host these events. So the Public Arts Commission's recommendation and funding request is to provide for the incorporation of a chalk walk element into our annual July 4th celebration with an identified location on the rail trail so that we can add that arts experience into the pedestrian experience for folks that use that for transit and just interacting with the space that we have during July 4th. So we're proposing this to hold it earlier in the day to allow for all the logistics for the evening event to take place as generally planned, but also adding that extra element on July 4th. So the three elements of the proposal include installation of professional chalk art, a community chalk art competition that would be free for the public to enter and broken out by age group and age range, and then also a community chalk art activity. And I've included a few slides here from their presentation to the Public Arts Commission just to give everyone a sense of the quality and style and type of work. One of the benefits of being able to work with this team is that they have existing strong and familiar relationships with professional chalk artists across the state and the region, and can bring in some really high quality artists from that artist community. The public chalk art competition I mentioned would be broken up into different age groupings. They'll also provide professional staffing on site, and the contract amount is inclusive of all of the costs to provide supplies and also prepare for registration. And then the community chalk area would also be free and open to the public. They proposed a few different ideas. They've been successful in the past of doing a chalk quilt where different members of the community each have their own square. They could also potentially do a word mural along the rail line, or rail trail, excuse me, or just implementing a more creative shape outline. So we would work with them to find the appropriate space and the concept that's a good fit. Professional staffing is necessary for this event, both in terms of leveraging the relationships with professional artists and just people power capacity to make this happen on a busy day already for city staff. So the Public Arts Commission unanimously approved the recommendation to proceed with contract, and the request this evening is to authorize funding in the amount of $5,000, which is inclusive of that on-site and planning support as well as the professional chalk artists. And a small contingency amount to adapt as we go. So currently in fiscal year 2022, Public Arts Commission projects are funded at $48,000. The Public Arts Commission is recommending recommending authorization of $5,000 to implement the chalk art and to authorize the mayor to enter into contract. We are requesting action this evening since time is of the essence. July 4th will be here very soon, and we'd like to move forward as quickly as possible.
Comments or questions from anyone on council?
Motion to authorize expenditure of funds as presented and authorize to enter into contract for execution of the Shambley Chalk Walk on July 4th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to sign the contract for the Chamblee Chalk Walk. Any further discussion?
I have one little bit of further discussion. You asked me if this was permanent or if it would wash away, and I want to be very sure that we get photographs of this.
Absolutely. And the contract has provisions in there about essentially the specifics of rain plans. And the Zach, the organizer that we've been speaking with, is fantastic. You know, really dedicated to providing tarps and doing everything within our power to protect the artwork and make sure that it is there for everybody to enjoy as much as possible. And certainly we'll make photos. The discussion from the Public Arts Commission has focused very much on this being the initial iteration with desire to see where it can go from here and what it looks like in future expanded capacity.
Is there a rainy day plan?
There is, and it's like literally down to the hour of when we're having those discussions, but Zach and his team have been fantastic to work with, very responsive to the feedback provided by the Public Arts Commission and the staff, and we're confident in their ability to make the best of a rainy day if we have to come to that, but I think that we will be in good hands with them.
Very good.
Rail Trail Bridge is a big sidewalk that's covered.
Yeah. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Very good. Love it. Tell Leslie's happy about this. Item number 8, City of Chamblee Rail Trail Extension 7-12 Engineering Services Agreement.
Thank you, Mayor. As you may remember, the City of Chamblee, well, first of all, the City of Chamblee every year looks at grant opportunities for transportation infrastructure. We've been very fortunate to receive funding in the past that has helped bring many sidewalks to the city. This year we have received 2 grant funds from the TIP program, the Transportation Improvement Program, which are administered through the Atlanta Regional Commission. We have received those grants and have gone through the process of selecting a engineering firm to design those projects for us. We have to go through federal regulations when we do meet with those applicants and take in their applications or their responses to our request for proposals. Heath and Lineback on this particular one on Chamblee, on the rail trail extension 7 through 12, Heath and Lineback was chosen for recommendation to create the plan, to do the planning for the rail trail extension, which is from 7 through 12, if you remember, is through the downtown area near City Hall, from essentially Chamblee Dunwoody Road. So that project, the engineering for that project is $1.2 million, and we are recommending Heath and Lineback for that. If we could just do them at the same time, Chamblee Tucker multi-use path. This path goes essentially from New Peachtree Road to Buford Highway. Prime Engineering was selected as the most responsive proposer. And the scope of that project, with a cost of just over $500,000. These are 2 projects where the city is contributing our match, but we are receiving federal funds. It is important to note that the rail trail project 7 through 12 is completely funded. So that project will be built with federal funds. It will take about 5 years to get that project completed. And that's just the the way those federal dollars work. And then the Chamblee-Tucker multi-use path, we have funding for the engineering and the scope, but we have not yet received funding for the rest, the actual construction of the project. That's something we'll be applying next year for a grant to do that.
Very good.
We're very excited about these two projects. They expand our sidewalk and bicycle trails. Next month, we'll be bringing a proposal to actually do a master plan for bicycle trails throughout the community, the entire city. So,
good stuff. Questions from council on either of those items?
The section 7 through 12 in the packet, or is that something we'll have to get to it before Tuesday?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. I apologize.
Segments, just a refresher on segments 7 through 12. Is that what it is? Is that in the packet, or is that something you can provide us just as a refresher? I know it's out there somewhere.
Yes, it is. It essentially runs from Pierce Drive to the boundary city limits with Doraville. So it's through the town center all the way to the Assembly project, or I guess the Gray project. That is the one that Heath and Lombach is recommended for.
That's basically what the town center basically is right.
It's a straight shot, yeah. Right.
And is the Chamblee-Tucker portion, is that just an expansion of the sidewalk on the non-airport side?
Actually, the funds that are allocated for that project will help us determine the best route for that project.
Okay.
And the same will happen on 7 through 12. The first step is for them to help us determine the best routes for those projects. Once they determine the best route on the Chamblee-Tucker multi-use path, the scope of work provides for them to essentially deliver a very well-developed concept plan, and then we will need to go back for funding for construction.
Right, okay.
Very good. Any other questions? All right, we got a twofer on that one, so we get to move right on down to Development Department. The first two items were deferred till the June work session, so we'll go on down to item number 3, PZ 2022-991, which is the Keswick Drive setback. Did council have any questions or comments on that project?
Only question I have is for the applicant.
You can come on up to the microphone, sir.
And I didn't see anywhere, maybe I missed it, but is there any documentation of discussion you had with the neighbor that's closest to this?
I haven't documented it. I did speak with him before I constructed it, and he did not have a problem with the shed.
Can you possibly try to get a confirmation of that, or discussion, or something?
Like a letter that he could sign saying that he...
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay, cool.
I have a request. Could you think about painting it a little bit less bright? It's kind of in your face. So make it a softer color that blends in better with the...
Certainly.
That'd be lovely.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
I'll let my wife pick out the colors.
I do have a question. You mentioned that it would be very difficult to physically move it. What's the foundation? I mean, is it...
It is on concrete pillars into the earth, and it's on joists. And so I literally would have to tear it down to actually move it. If I have to offset it further from the property line, I'm going to remove the floor, dig new holes, and just put new joists.
So it's sitting on just block or
concrete, poured concrete, and then 4x4s that are attached to the concrete foundation.
So it's not impossible to move. You could actually do it without tearing it down. It's like jacking up a house and moving it.
That would probably cost an order of magnitude more than it took me to build it.
I think it could be done pretty easily. Okay, thank you.
Well, maybe it would be a nice idea to have the conversation and maybe turn him on to your folks that might be able to help with that.
I'd be happy to, yeah.
Very good. Anything else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 4, which is the PZ 2022-993 Chamblee Townhomes and Mixed Use FLU map and rezoning. Questions or comments from council?
I do have a question, and, you know, my memory is fuzzy from years and years and years ago when we tried to steer away from retention ponds. I kind of thought that we frowned on them, if not totally disallowed them. Am I wrong?
Just for development?
They are not disallowed. The code provides for construction above ground as well.
All right.
But we have not done one in many, many years,
Have
at least
not.
8 to 9 years.
Yeah.
So yes, that could be possible while you're misremembering.
No, it's exactly why I'm misremembering. Because for all the reasons that we don't like retention ponds, that just, they're ugly, they get overgrown, they require, everything requires maintenance, but they are probably attractive to mosquitoes and other pests. So I hate seeing one being built, but if they're not disallowed, they're not disallowed.
So Michelle, it's my understanding, my limited research on this, this is not a true detention pond. This is a flood zone mitigation, or I forgot exactly what I was told it was. So does that have a different standard or requirement, or can that be built underground, I guess is my real question on that.
So I defer that to an engineer who could respond best about the functionality for where the capacity is for managing both what is needed for the floodplain and what is needed for detention or management of stormwater. I just would add that because the code allows something, if there's a preferred approach to it, it can meet other purposes. For example, the design above ground, a design that could be more acceptable may have to meet certain standards or be used as both an aesthetic feature. Now, those are costly, and there's engineering, and there will still be maintenance for it. One of the reasons you don't see above ground is, you really don't have space for it on most of our sites, and so you have it underground. And having it, I wouldn't know I would need an engineer to respond to that about the pros and cons of having a vaulted or a structured facility to service the stormwater, but we can provide you some more details on that and some alternatives, both from staff and from applicants.
But I thought this was more than just a typical detention pond. This was part of the, and again, it could be the same because we've never dealt with this because of their building in the floodplain. They're using that as an offset for building in the floodplain. Correct, and they're using that detention, and then is that why it's different, or is it not really? That's just.
I'm not sure that it's different. It's just this height has space for it to have it above ground.
Gotcha.
I would say more along those lines. But on the floodplain, there are the two different functionalities. I think it's best if you go ahead and ask the applicant if you want to explain how they're functioning. And that part of that question was, what is the capacity that you will need? We don't know that. We don't know the sizing because we don't have the calculations from the study for displacing in the floodplain.
I want to stay on that topic. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just about the flood survey. Is this atypical for somebody to submit a plan and not have a flood survey?
So it is not a requirement. What is required is any additional documentation to inform your decision. In this case, we're requiring it because you can't make a decision about the viability of a site-specific without those calculations. Also, it is perfectly acceptable to request it when you have especially impacted neighbors or history of flooding or whatever the environmental impact, or it could be a traffic impact. You can't know until you have the data, so it's not unusual to request that. It's not a current requirement for every single one of our rezonings. but because of indicators and data needed to inform your decision, we've requested it.
Well, I was around when the Lowe's parking lot detention pond gave way and caused a lot of problems on the, I guess you would call that the downstream side of whatever it was. And that was mostly wooded areas and low-lying areas that went basically to the lake back there. This is a lot different than that. So that's my concern on this. Just so we're staying on things topically, is there anything more about the detention pond? Because I have other questions, but I don't want to go into other areas while we're on detention pond. That's just me.
No, I would definitely like to know for sure that I'd rather not see a detention pond, period. That's where I'm coming from. But no, I have nothing else to add.
Okay, so I've met with the developer pre-application, and we talked about that, and they added the retail on the front, and which they did add it. Did they add it like how I envisioned it? No, but that's another discussion. But I guess we spent so much time talking about that we didn't really get into retaining wall heights, and I know those have changed, but you know it's been some of these changes have happened very last minute. And then I swear I thought these were 100% townhome units. For sale or rent is not my question, but did I hear somebody say there was some multifamily units in here that are not townhomes, like stacked flats or something?
At the very front, over top of the commercial. There's two floors. There's 2 floors, 2 units per floor. There's 8 units at the very front.
Okay. Well, that again, I didn't know about those units prior to in my previous discussion, and there's not obvious on the site plan what they are, so I guess I just didn't pick it up.
Can you put that slide back up?
During my initial conversations, work-live was the idea there, yeah.
So the proposed units, the flats, yes, so this is the proposed architectural perspective of them. So they're 2 structures on the street frontage. The first level is proposed to be non-residential, and above it you have 4 units of multifamily units above that, and a total of 8. So 4 and 4 on each.
I like to refer to things and say, do things meet or exceed or don't exceed my expectations? And I would say this example does not meet my expectations. So I just didn't really, it was in the packet before, so we didn't really have much discussion on it. I do appreciate the effort though over the live work units, but I can't imagine that those are going to attract a lot of restaurant type businesses or whatever. They don't look very appealing to me in that regard. But I think, I do share all the other concerns about the traffic, the pedestrian connection through the GDOT property, and then all the things about the schools and impact on schools and other things. So, those are not specific to site. They typically are something we cover on almost every project we do. So, but anyway, those are my comments, I guess, on that. I didn't really have any.
Well, regarding traffic, there were some issues with the methodology that could use to conduct the traffic study. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, and I might ask Amy Canales, our senior planner who reviewed it. The method, part of the question of the method was requesting how the applicant took into account the proposed, and this applies for both sites, by the way. There's 2 proposed new sets of trips generated, the interaction of it. So there's a question on that. And there was another piece about, was it a question about the counts?
That was for the distance case.
Okay.
For the BJ drive case, I think their counts were more recent.
So for this one, there was less concern. It was more about the compounded impact of the trips on there.
Not to put you on the spot, can you go over the microphone so everybody can hear what you had to say? Thank you. I'm sorry. Put you on the spot here.
Sure, yeah. Hi, Amy Canales. I'm a senior planner with the Planning and Development Department. I conducted the review and analysis for the U.S. gypsum case, And there were concerns over the traffic study for that case, which was deferred, about the timing of when they collected the traffic count data. However, from my understanding, the VJ Drive case, which is before us right now, those traffic counts were conducted more recently. So our traffic engineer didn't have concerns about
the methodology.
Yes, but there were concerns about combining the two studies together.
Good, yeah, thank you. The cumulative impact, the combined impact of the sets of trips. So we'd like to understand that better. The results of it did show that the intersection at VJ and New Peachtree would be issues, but not the other aspects of the street. So from what they had provided, but we need, again, more data to more precisely inform your decision.
Another question that I have, and I know this has been discussed, and I know that bend in the road at the cemetery has been a nightmare for ever and ever and ever. I didn't live here when there was a different route or underpass or whatever it was, but I do understand that that's a huge issue. We have had discussions about mitigating that turn. Is that not specifically these people doing it, but mitigating that whole problem in the first place? Where are we with that?
We do not have any current plans looking at that. So that would be a new project that we would need to generate.
I think that would be expedient. But, okay. That answered my question. Thank you.
That was before my time.
Huh?
That's been a long time.
Oh.
That's before my time.
No, but we discussed it when the gypsum plant was also coming before us. We have discussed it, we just have not resolved it. You know, we talk about rumble strips and blah, 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 blah.
Regarding rent or own, due to state law, we cannot dictate how those are presented to the public. Is that correct?
It's a question of the Fair Housing Act, and I would say that is not an item that we can really look at.
I do have one comment on the parking at the front. Just quick note, I'm seeing there's like 40 parking spaces built out around the commercial units. Of them, I think 22 are marked as compact vehicle parking. I've talked with Councilman First about this. Shambley has done an amazing job of creating or ending up with really parking lots. I know the size of my vehicles. I know what they consider a compact vehicle. I don't think having more than half of the parking dedicated to compact vehicles is nearly adequate with the average size of what I almost get run over by every day in Atlanta. I think we're creating a situation where there's going to be a lot of calls for the police to come out and take a report because someone just backed into somebody.
Is there a site, the picture has a site plan, this is existing conditions. While we're talking, I would like to be able to see the site plan.
It's there. Put it back up.
Huh? No. Where?
Yeah, it'll come back up if you ask for it, which you just did.
That's nice.
Say please. There you go.
Say please. Later on.
I'm sorry, which one are you looking at?
The site plan of what they want to build as opposed to this is the existing conditions.
Okay. Sure.
I will say,
And to go, just to go back to one thing, I'm not an attorney, so I would say that that's just my interpretation, but attorneys would be better to ask on the housing question.
We already know the answer.
On the, I don't know why this picture, this is the version that I saw the first time before pre-application versus the black and white version. But the black and white version just looks so, like that one, I don't know, maybe it's an optical illusion or something, but that one just looks incredibly more dense. And when I saw the first one, I thought, oh, that's not so bad. And when I saw this one, I thought, oh my gosh, that's like sardine packed in a can. And I don't know if they're different or if there is more units in there and there's a conflict. I don't know.
They're the same. They're the same.
Well, John, I would say that I think some of it makes it look different. The removal of the 5-foot landscaping borders on the interior streets also is making it look a lot tighter.
That one
Which
makes it look tighter.
for some reason, I agree with you. I think that one does look tighter than the color image. But the removal of the landscaping borders inside are going to make this feel a lot drier and hotter, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And just to be clear, those are the same amount of units in both pictures.
Okay.
I'm asking.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know, we'll have to get to look at that, but, well, maybe the applicant can, tell us that there's some discrepancy. Who's the architect? Anybody? I mean, why is this really confusing you?
My name is Michael Bailey. I'm the landscape architect with Niles Bolton Associates. They are the same plan. I think it may be just a trick of the eye, but it is the same plan. It just has color on it.
The color.
And I think the black and white version has some more information on it that probably makes it look more dense. It's got more wording. It's got the lot lines shown. So it does present itself as if it's more dense, but it is, I can assure you, it's the exact same plan.
Want to count it?
Sure.
Another question for the applicant. The original plan called for a 40-foot retaining wall, and it dropped down to 12. Can you tell me how you're able to drop that many feet off of the retaining wall, and what the purpose of a 40-foot versus 12 were?
Sure, yeah, I'm Daniel Kerr, the civil engineer. So basically, the original plan we showed really just kind of similar to the townhome development to the west. It was very flat, but in this rendition, we looked at stepping the units, which then helps us make up a lot of that grade, because as Carl mentioned at the beginning, there's over 100 feet of fall from New Peachtree down to the rear lots on the south. And so that's basically the main, I guess, design tactic, if you will, that we used to, in regrading and re-looking at the site to reduce the wall size.
So when you did that, I wrote up on the top of the screen, that's the border to the current townhomes, correct?
Correct.
And yeah, and you eliminated that, because that really, you're basically going to create a 14 to 13 foot deep Allen block canyon running between the two properties. And I assume since they say 0 now, you're just going to, I think we have existing conditions picture that shows the town wall, and I think it's in the lower right hand corner. So that's the only retaining wall in that section, I guess, where you got your not that one, that one. Yes, that one on the right there. It shows that retaining wall will not have a retaining wall on your side, if I'm interpreting the map.
Just to be clear, this is still kind of like a preliminary engineering, so we're not anticipating any sizable walls. Yes, definitely not 12, 13, 14 feet like we're shown previously. There may be some knee walls, 2 feet or so, and then there is towards the north, if you go back to the site plan or the grading plan that you were just showing, on the north, we're stepping down from that existing construction office, whatever it is, that little parcel that we're not using. So there is basically that one length of townhome. It's hard to see the number. But anyways, that will have, a medium-sized, I'd say, wall from, 10 or so feet, and then it would die back down.
Where the dot is, or the other?
So further up, west, yeah, right there.
That could have a retaining wall of some size?
Correct.
Okay.
Because we've got to get down to...
Yeah, and then you're going to step down, I guess, at some point.
That's right.
Plus you have your existing condition of that new business that's renovated up there, that proposed parcel, that's a little chunk there, that's the office or whatever that is that's just redeveloped or renovated.
Correct, yes.
So you're saying that these numbers, the old ones and the new numbers for the heights of these walls could change?
So, well, I mean, we're showing a pretty, I think, well, I'd say it's pretty accurate. I think that there may be some short walls, but nothing that would, I mean, be considered even a retaining. It could just be some landscape, steps, as opposed to like a retaining wall per se. That's engineered and
I'm not
designed.
talking about what John was talking about. I'm talking about all the numbers.
Oh yeah, those are.
Set in stone or not? The new numbers.
Well, again, this is a preliminary design, right, where it's not fully engineered.
Okay.
So I can't say that those are the exact heights of the wall.
When will that data be available? That's kind of an important thing.
I don't want to commit to this and then find out you're going to go 2 feet higher or 5 feet higher or anything like that. I would not want to give you open-ended permission to build this and to spend your money on your engineering only to find out that this is not going to be the project that's presented. It's going to be different, and we've given you permission to build it.
I mean, I don't know if Carl wants to speak to that or not, but, that could always be a condition as well, right?
Okay.
So.
Yes. That would probably need to be a condition. Okay. While you're up here, are you the person to talk to about this detention pond?
I can answer some of the questions about the detention pond. I don't do all the floodplain studies myself.
Okay.
That's another department.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned about the floodplain studies as I am about where does the water go?
So it goes where it goes today, which is to the south, in between basically the lot that's two from. How would I want to explain this? So there's basically the two lots on the plan south, I guess, west. There's two lots right there, and then it comes out basically along that lot line. If you can see where there's the pipe that goes from the detention pond out,
yeah.
It falls into an existing stream right there.
And it's my understanding that detention ponds are supposed to be, if they're properly engineered and maintained, they're supposed to be empty within 36 hours, something like that.
So yes, that's correct. It's got to infiltrate, which prevents mosquitoes and other, quite frankly, it prevents wetlands and all sorts of things that come along with that. But yes, that's correct from a detention standpoint.
But that detention pond will focus water that has previously not been so focused in one
There's already
location.
a detention pond there.
Oh, there is already a detention pond
there.
there.
Yes.
Well, that makes a difference. Okay.
But I think it's being expanded, is it not?
Yeah, so we're reusing, recycling existing detention pond. They're going to rebuild it, they're going to make it bigger, better.
Bigger, better.
Right, so we go through our whole hydrology study, and this one is going to be more expansive than even a typical one due to the floodplain incorporation with, the detention and all that. So yes, we will only improve the situation.
Okay, all right. I didn't realize that there was an existing one, so that makes a huge difference.
But you can see that's the existing condition, I believe.
Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to see on this one because it doesn't have topography. This particular survey does not have the existing topography on it.
Into that same area.
Correct.
It comes almost all the way to the full corner. It fills out that whole full corner.
Yeah.
And you can see it has pipes that run from all over the other properties, roads, and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And I think the feedback I've gotten is that there currently is problems with the functionality of the existing detention pond. Now, I know that was built many years ago, and standards have improved, but that there is an existing detention pond that's working, and it's somewhat problematic at this time.
So we want to be sure that we're correcting those problems.
Correct.
All right, any other questions? Very good, thank you. All right, we have a couple more items on the agenda, and then we'll move into citizen comment. If anybody wants to stick around, you'll have 3 minutes at that time to share anything else that you would like to share on this or any other project. Next up is the Keswick Park Master Plan of existing softball and baseball areas. Jody!
Good evening. At the March Council retreat, staff was directed to move forward with hiring a firm to master plan the existing Keswick softball and baseball areas, and we are seeking approval for the mayor to sign a task order with the Foresight Group in the amount of $19,500 to master plan the spaces, and that does include 3 public input meetings.
Very good.
My request would be on that about the last part of the rec master plan is that not only do they sure you want to ask people what you want, but I also think they need to show some imaginative concepts of what it could be, because the general public is not an expert in park design, and they're going to give you very vanilla answers. And I'm not trying to discount their answers, but they say, look what they did, this amazing thing they did in Dallas, and look what they did in this amazing thing. And then say, would you like something like that? Because we're not going to get many dog parks, whatever, playgrounds. We're going to get the same answers we always get, and every time we do these surveys, and I would like to do some conceptual presentation of what, maybe that's some of the charrette stuff, because they have all those, sometimes they have some great pictures, but they didn't do that the last time that I remember.
I will make sure that that's included in the...
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Jody. All right, we have 2 items that'll come up on Tuesday for second read. We have mayor and council items. Don't have anything on there, but I did want to take an opportunity to acknowledge and welcome our former council member, Miss Clara, who's here with us this evening. Hello. Just to say hello.
Hey, Clara.
Good to see you, Clara. And then we have citizen comments. Anybody wishing to make a comment, come on up. You got 3 minutes to tell us what's on your mind.
Ronnie Mayer, community leader, property owner, Brookhaven and Chamblee. I love coming to y'all's meeting. Let me help y'all understand the difference in ownership and rental. You have Peachtree Industrial full of rental. They drive out there in their heavy Dodge Chargers and they lay a drag up the road and run 100 miles an hour. And there's nobody to spank their hand. So if you build the rentals back there, if you build ownership, you come flying out of your units, you know all your neighbors are going to say, hey, Mr. Smith back there just laid a drag down the road, and everybody's going to be all over Facebook and go get him with his address. Okay? You do the rentals, you're going to ruin that part of Shambley. You don't need to have restaurants in there, commercial. Do $1 million flats. If you build it, my wife's a real estate agent, and whatever he said, I don't believe him, because I've got lots. People are offering me $1.3 million for a 3-bedroom house lot in Ashford Park. You build $1 million flat, there's so many people over here that are filthy rich that have the steps in the house. Y'all have to think out of the box. Y'all have to be better than Dorville and Brookhaven and Dunwoody. You put some $1 million flats, people will come. And you help have an overpass there, an underpass, people will come and they'll be living a block from their golf course right here. And they don't want to live in Capital City in a big house. They want to be close to the golf course and live in $1 million flat. You build it, they will come. I don't care what the interest rate is. When you get over $1 million, those people don't care. They want, and they're going to get it. And I appreciate y'all's time. I like what the nice lady said. If you put an overpass, a small walkable bridge that'll hold a golf cart, I will spend my tax dollars at Whole Foods, because I'll ride in my golf cart, and I will eat at your restaurants. I mean, even though we eat there now, but you got to get the car, drive the car. There's not enough parking places. Will you make access to that on a bridge? Everybody in National Park will come spend our tax dollar in your city. Thank you.
You already have my signature. Kimberly Corrington, I'm at 3218 Parkridge Crescent. This is kind of a general touching on the Shambley Comprehensive Plan. And just touching on the pedestrian rail crossing that it mentions in there, I think it would be a good opportunity to connect with any developer or business there on the new Peachtree Road section. I would just like to propose that to council, that it could be a consideration that they support it in some capacity. It would benefit our neighborhood, and I think a lot of our neighbors would use the connectivity. Unfortunately, trains are a major cause of injury and death in Georgia. In fact, there are over 300 train accidents in Georgia every year. The majority are collisions between cars and trains. However, pedestrians are also fatalities of a significant number of train accidents. Adding upwards of 300 apartments and 180 townhomes without a plan is only amplifying our problem. I'm so passionate about it because we've had people die on those train tracks. You yourself made a posting on Easter Sunday about somebody who died trying to cross, and there's a plan in place. We just need to see how we can maybe push that along. So that's it.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Hey, I appreciate you guys' time. I do just kind of want to put on the GC side of my hat. I do work for a high-profile contractor. A few things just to consider. The site survey and land to incorporate the current topography. Again, I'm not against this residential development. I think it's a good idea, but I think there is some consideration with the topography and how it flows. If you kind of consider these retaining walls that they are looking to build, that's over 500 cubic yards of dirt and over several hundred tons of 57 stone. So the composition of that wall has to have some backing and reinforced structure. So just thinking about that type of trucking moving up and down New Peachtree, as well as the dirt and the concrete, timing of the pours, usually timing of concrete pours that I do are at 2 a.m. Not a lot of happy campers if they schedule that at that time. Site clearing, etc. These are very close to the properties of the homes, so airborne and fugitive dust. How is that site erosion control being handled? The site doesn't address fire alarm code. Delta 107 does state that there has to be 2 lanes of access into, and it has to be so wide. So based on the dimensions that I have seen, I don't see that based on the access to the property as well as the turning radiuses. So if there is a fire in the backside of the property, will a truck be able to get in? Is there parking, as somebody had kind of mentioned? Where are they parking, and is that going to prohibit? Add vegetation back, that's great that they're going to do that, but that's not a 1-to-1 ratio. Again, there's 24 to 32 inch caliber trees. Adding a 4 to 5 inch caliper is not equivalent. Current escalation in market value, just so you guys know, is 2% every quarter, and what I'm calculating based on my projects. So I'd like to understand if the GC eventually, if they do get approved for this project, when the project is going to start, are they calculating for escalation and contingency, or are they going to assume that, hey, we're going to come in, clear the lot, and then we're over budget? And then what happens to the budget is you start making budget cuts. That gets into the finishes, that gets into the vegetation and the landscape, etc. So a lot of things to consider. HOA addressing that stuff, that's easy to say for them because they're staying here, but once the project's done, is somebody actually supervising that? And then how's the existing, so I just built an accessory structure on the backside of my property. Part of the issue was a 25 and a 50-foot wind stream, so I haven't seen anything of that being addressed, especially with that retaining wall. So again, I appreciate you guys' time. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Matthew Corrington. I'm also at 3218 Parkridge Crescent. Listening to what everyone's saying here, same deal. I kind of agree. I want to see development. That area could be so beautiful with everything, so I appreciate the fact that you guys are taking the time to look at this. Obviously, a single-family home is probably more appealing just because of the less density aspect. But I also like that you brought up that turn. No matter what we do, that is probably one of the most dangerous turns right there, as somebody that comes through it quite often. So I do appreciate that you guys are taking a look at that, and I would implore you to probably study that a little bit more, because there is no other turn like that in our neighborhood, and it's probably one of the most dangerous spots coming in and out. So, thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize we were still talking about these projects, but I would like a little bit more clarity on the process and where we are and what the path forward is. There are obviously a lot of issues. There's the tension pond, there's buffer, there are a variety of things. It seems to me that since you've got this scheduled now for first read next Tuesday, the better, and these things are obviously not going to be resolved by then, it's a better use of everybody's time if you just say, we'll put you on the next work session. We're not going to see you next Tuesday. We're not going to see you at the second read in June. And let's see if we can get some of these things resolved. That seems a more rational path forward to me. I don't know when you can make that decision, but if the process is we come back and you make the decision next Tuesday, that's fine. But I think getting some direction so we can move this forward in a more positive way would be helpful.
Very good, sir. Anybody else? All right, seeing none. John, do we have an executive session?
We do, Mayor. We have an executive session for personnel, land acquisition, and litigation or pending litigation.
Very good. So, need a motion?
Motion to enter executive session.
For personnel, land acquisition, and
litigation and potential litigation.
Very good. Okay, so we'll need to exit out. Everybody can stick around if you would like to. We'll be out for just a few minutes, and then we'll come back in and adjourn.
Motion to exit executive session.
Well, I guess I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. We're out of here.